How to align the headset. A symptom of a worn or contaminated headset is a notchy feeling to your steering or a rocking feeling when you apply the front brake. If you experience this on your bike, you may want to service or replace your headset. For this job, you will need a 4mm hex key, a T30 Torx key, a torque wrench with a 4mm hex key and a T30 Torx key attachment, and some grease. It is vital that you follow the fitting procedure and tighten the fixing bolts correctly on the handlebar support. Otherwise, the handlebar support may not be secured properly. Removing the handlebar support for T-line. Removing the front wheel will make this job easier. To separate the handlebar assembly from the fork steerer, unscrew the 4 bolts on the steerer hinge clamp by 3 to 4 turns. Do not completely remove to prevent the steerer clamp from falling out. Unscrew the handlebar hinge clamp to fold the handlebar stem. This will reveal the preload bolt, which you can now undo while holding onto the forks. When the preload bolt is unscrewed fully, the fork steerer will be disconnected. You can pull the handlebars and fork steerer away from the headset. Do not try to adjust the steerer stop band, as this requires a special tool to be angled correctly. You can now grease or replace the headset bearings with ease. If replacing the headset, the bottom bearing is a 40mm angular contact bearing and the top bearing is a 30.22mm angular contact bearing. Refitting the headset and handlebar stem assembly. Lightly grease the head tube cups before placing the 30.22mm bearing in place. Greasing again before placing the compression ring on. And then the steerer clamp ring seal. Then grease the fork steerer tube and place the 40mm angular contact bearing on, ensuring the beveled edge is facing upwards. Grease the bearing so you won't need to grease the bottom bearing cup. Avoid getting any grease on the clamping surfaces. Insert the fork steerer into the head tube and fit the steerer clamp ring seal. All parts should then feel seated with minimal lateral movement. Fit the steerer hinge clamp body over the fork steerer and tighten the preload bolts to 4 Nm using the torque wrench and a T30 Torx key attachment. Ensure the cables are properly routed around the non-drive side of the handlebar stem. Fit the front wheel. For the next step, we recommend the bike is on the floor. Unfold the handlebar support and align the handlebar to the front wheel. Partially tighten the 2 right steerer clamp hinge bolts. Followed by the 2 left bolts. Check again to make sure the handlebar is in alignment with the front wheel. Tighten the 2 right steerer clamp hinge bolts to 5 Nm, followed by the 2 left bolts using a torque wrench and a 4mm hex key attachment. It is vital that you apply the correct torque. If the bolts are not tightened enough, the handlebars could twist in use. If over-tightened, you could damage the carbon fork steerer or clamp hinge.